Rightio guys, so we've got the next garage project on the go here, and it's actually my mum's car, so it's just I think it's like 2014 Honda Jazz, around that era anyway. Pretty good car. It's in good condition mechanically. It's only got like 70,000 Ks on it, but as you can see, the paint is not in the best condition. So this is one of those ones where it's just going to be easier to paint the whole car. By the time you try to do your color matching, and you know, you've definitely got to do the quarter panels, you'd have to do the bonnet, the tops of the guards, the front bumper. It's basically, you would nearly do everything except for the doors, and then it's like there's a big dent there, and it's like matching and blending your clear coat. You're always going to get a little bit of a difference there. Like, surely, yes, you can minimize it by doing color matching and not overloading the clear coats on those edges, but honestly, look, the whole car really warrants a coat of paint. And I was actually even noticing, maybe it's just on the other side, but even the very tops of those doors is just starting to go. But yeah, most of the car is just going to get a scuff and paint. Yeah, that was it. It's just starting to go. I'm not sure if you can see that on the camera there, but it's just starting to fail. It's just starting to degrade and break down, that clear coat. So yeah, it's actually worse on that rear door. You can probably see that a bit easier on that rear door. This car has sat out under my tree there because I didn't have anywhere else to put it. So it sat out there for a couple of weeks. So I've picked up quite a few bird poos. It's going to need a bit of a clean down. That'll obviously be the first thing that I do. I might even get that pressure cleaner out and yeah, just give it a clean down. But as you may have noticed, the entire garage needs a good clean up, so that's going to be the first thing I'm going to do. I just whacked a bit of my favourite body filler in there into the doors, those two repairs. That's UV body filler. And this is the light that I use. So yeah, pretty expensive this thing, but yeah, definitely a beast of a UV curing lamp. Nice and fast. The body filler dries in like 12 seconds, so it really didn't take long to get those repairs done. Sometimes I do ask myself how I lived without UV body filler, especially for jobs like this. But anyway, we're about to yeah, get that whizzy out and start sounding that clear coat back. Yeah, like I say, I just got 180 grit on there on the Flex Orbital Sander. This thing is an absolute beast. At work, they've got this Merca thing, and yeah, just absolutely gutless. It stalls like really easy. So I found the Flex to have a lot more torque behind it, and like you can't really stall it. I guess I'm just taking the affected paint off. It does seem to be a topic that whenever I do faded paint, it seems to get a bit of attention. I put a few posts up on Instagram, and the people do seem to be interested to see how I tackle a faded paint repair. It really isn't that complicated. You just sand the paint off until you can see that it's sticking and you've got a nice substrate to work on top of. You don't have to go and take all of the clear coat off, just the affected clear where it's degraded and broken down. We are going to be applying some more primer over the top of that, so do try not, you know, like I say it as I did it, but you know, where possible, try not to go right back to the bare metal, because yeah, it's just no need. If there's no need to go back to bare metal, don't do it. I mean, a little bit here and there is definitely not the end of the world, but noticing how I'm holding that orbital sander nice and flat, like I'm not edging it up. And if you ever do edge it up, you've got to move it fast, right? So you can sort of move it up on an angle like that, but you just got to move it nice and fast so it's sort of sanding down evenly, so it's not digging in on the edges or anything. And you can see there how that's still affected, and now it's gone, looking good. So this is 180 grit, as I mentioned before, and that's actually going to be fine to prime straight over the 180 grit. If you were worried, you could go say 240 or 320, but that's not really necessary. 180, especially on the orbital sander, even on the block, is okay to prime over. I say that because any orbital sanding scratches are actually finer than any block scratches. Now I'm sanding that back because there was a bit of rust there. That's why I went through the bare metal on that spot. That way the rust is cleaned off the metal and yeah, prime it up, start fresh. I'm using the good quality 3M sandpapers, the 3M purple sandpapers, so as you notice I was able to sand the entire bonnet down and that sandpaper is actually still going. That's why I don't mind spending an extra couple of dollars on my sandpapers. You can have a look over here. I've definitely got a nice full range of everything, so I've got all the way down to 3, even 5,000 grit. All the way down to 40 grit. Feather that out just a little bit. So I think that was 80 grit that I hit that repair with. So I'll just fuzz around the edge of that 80 grit with 180. And again, that'll be fine to prime over. Yeah, that's actually feeling okay. I'll just put a couple of coats of primer on it. Give it a light block. Mum should be wrapped. Yeah, definitely a bit of bird poo on the roof, but never mind, the 180 will rip it off. That's still that one piece of 180 grit. I've just about done half of the roof and the entire bonnet. This is what I'm talking about, spend an extra couple of dollars on the sandpapers. It actually ends up working out cheaper. So I just thought I'd flick this cam on just to give you guys a look at this new UV filler, which just arrived yesterday actually. So Specular is the brand here, made in Thailand. The cool thing about this stuff is like you can buy that anywhere in the world and they're actually able to ship it via air. So it's not dangerous goods, so it's not even flammable. So yeah, really awesome stuff. So on the rest of this car, I did use some UV filler, but it was a different brand. I used the Nuva brand on that, but you do have to be careful. You can't go too thick with it. So I might just leave it at that. And if it needs 2 fills, it needs 2 fills. Now the Nuva one is slightly transparent. So I'm wondering if you could run into some issues with this where the light doesn't penetrate down to the bottom. That may or may not happen. But either way, we'll just see how it goes. I've got my Spectratech light here. Put those glasses on just to protect the eyes. Now 12 seconds is all it needs. Flick it on. I like to get it nice and close just to penetrate right down to the bottom. They actually say there's no real difference in holding it back a bit, but I actually find it does make a little difference. There you go, have a look at how hard that is. It seems to have gone right the way down to the bottom. And one thing about this is it doesn't have that slimy layer on the top, so that's actually pretty cool. But like I say, I may end up having to do an extra fill on it because I deliberately kept it a bit skinny because like, it's my first time using this one. And of course, the way that this UV primer dries is by the light. So if the light can't get down to that bottom layer, then it's not going to dry and it's going to delaminate on you possibly later down the track. So I've never actually had that happen to me, but I have seen it happen to other people. Let's grab a new bit of 180, but this should actually sound nice and easy because I can feel there is no sort of slimy layer on the top of that, which a lot of the other UV fillers do actually have, that slimy layer. But yeah, sometimes what I'll do on a repair like this is that's sounding really nice. That's not clogging the sandpaper at all, so that's quite good stuff. So, like I say, I think that's gonna need another skim. Yeah, see, there you go. That's exactly what I was talking about. So that was too thick. That light did not penetrate down to the bottom. Have a look at that. Yeah, okay. Well, that's maybe a better product for stone chips rather than the deeper ones. Okay. That's an issue. Okay, so previously I'll show you what I was using, and I will use it to get us out of this little dilemma here. So we'll dry that. All the deep spots I did just gouge out then, so we'll give it a quick scarf, and then we'll use the Nuva putty while we're here. And this won't happen to the Nuva, trust me, I've used the Nuva quite a lot. But yeah, I really do like the way that sounds. I wonder if they can take the pigment out of it, take that colour out of it to sort of help that light penetrate through. That's okay. All is well that ends well. It doesn't matter as long as you sort of identify these issues before you go and paint over it. So this Nuva, I'm a massive fan of this stuff, but like I said, you do get a very slight sticky, slimy layer over the top of it, but it's really not a big issue. It's funny, you get some people, it seems like they're just stuck in their ways. They just don't want to. Yeah, can you see how that's actually transparent? So that's the reason that you can actually put this stuff on thicker, because the light will actually penetrate right the way down to the bottom. See, I can see that is actually still, even after putting a much thicker layer in, you can still see through to that colour down the bottom, so that will actually dry properly, even though it's on thicker. But yeah, it'd be hard to go back to using polyester on everything. After you've used UV fillers, jobs like this, just absolutely ideal. The amount of time that you save, and you'll get no shrink back out of it either. There's nothing to shrink back, so there's no VOCs, there's no thinners or anything like that in it. There's nothing to shrink back, if you know what I mean. This light's a funny one. Sometimes you got to flick it on and off again. Not the biggest deal, but that's another thing I do. Sometimes just hold it nice and close. If you're ever like sort of not really in the mood for wearing the glasses, you can just hold it so close and you won't get that UV light sort of spraying back in blasting back in your face. We'll give it another hit for what it's worth. It's only 24 seconds all up. We gave it 2 hits with the 12, but that's plenty, absolutely more than enough. Turn that back off. Now we'll see, we've got that. It's actually not that bad. Yeah, it's really not that bad. That slimy layer. Now they do have specific cleaners. I think it's an acetone based. I've smelled it and it sort of smells like an acetone based cleaner that you clean that slimy layer off with, but I don't have any of that UV cleaner, so sometimes that's all I do. You're literally physically removing that top layer with the razor blade, so it's not going to clog up the sandpaper. And depending on the size of the dent, you can actually do a lot of your blocking with that razor blade. Like I've done that over the years sometimes, and it definitely can work. So we'll put that over there. I might get something a little bit coarser to hit it with first. UV fillers do go very, very hard, like ultra rock hard. They seem a bit harder than your normal polyester fillers. Like, yeah, polyester fillers, they're definitely a bit softer. So just got an old bit of 80. I like to reuse bits of sandpaper where I can. They're quite expensive, these 3M, but they do last for a long time. So you can get a few uses out of them. Depending on what you're doing, you do actually sometimes need that extra hard cut of a new piece, if you know what I mean. Because, yeah, that's just how it works, I guess. When you want to get something flat, like let's just say we do, like we've added that filler there, we do actually have a little bit of a high spot. So sometimes if that sandpaper is blunt, all you're going to do is you're just going to be going over the top of it like that. Whereas with a new piece, you'll be cutting right down nice and smooth. Cutting the highs down, whereas you're not touching the lows. Every time I do this directional sanding, I get a few, you know, heroes in the comments to tell me how I'm blocking it wrong. But the way I say it, that's the direction of the car. Like, why wouldn't you sand honor the shape of that panel? Like, yes, if you do get like a few marks in that way, maybe cross it up a little bit just to get them out. But for the most part, I'm not going to be sanding that like that. That's not really the shape of the panel. That is the shape of the panel. That's the direction of the panel. So that's the way that I sand. You can argue with the methods, but not really sure you can argue with the results, because my repairs definitely come up good most of the time. Feels like it needs a little bit over that edge there. Again, I'm not looking for perfection out of this. It's just, these are just freebie dents on my mum's car, so we'll just get it near enough is good enough type thing. So that's 80 grit. We'll hit that with some 180. Where did I have it? There it is. That was that new bit I got before. Yeah, so no offense, old specular mate. I reckon Nuva's definitely got the better product still. Keep working at it. But yeah, Nuva's the way to go. I'm a big fan of those Nuva putties. But that's a good repair. All I did there is put a bit of 1K over it. Like, it's not perfect. That line's kind of gone there. If I wanted it to be better, I could have put a few coats of 2-pack primer on it. But like I say, for freebie dents for my mum, she'll be more than happy. Yeah, so that's the high ridge. When you put a dent in, like, it'll generally bulge out around the edges and then go in the middle. Right, yeah, alright, cool. Pack this stuff up. I'll get some primer on, some 1K primer onto that repair.
So yeah, once I had all the repairs done, I did just throw a little bit of 1K over those repairs, just because, you know, I wasn't looking for perfection. If I did want to get it a lot better, then I would have either put some UV primer and dried that out, because UV primer goes rock hard, so you can actually block into it. Need be, like, if you're in a hurry, you can go put a coat of UV primer on, block it, then put another coat on, and you can do it really fast. So, you know, you could have like 3 or 4 tries at blocking a repair down, and you'd have it done within like 15 minutes. Whereas if you're using 2-pack, you'd have to put it on, you'd have to put the heat lights on it, and you'd be like minimum sort of half an hour if you're talking 3 or 4 coats of primer. So yeah, the UV tick is really awesome. It's really amazing stuff. But as I say, like, you know, for the job that it is, the repairs didn't even have to be perfect. It's more just take the eye off it. Yeah, but as you can see there, once I had the entire car buzzed down, so I just used 400 grit and the interface pad. Now, for whatever reason, I didn't actually have any footage of that, so I didn't actually include that. The headlights, they got a good buzz down. I think I hit them like with 400 first on the orbital sander. Like, they were that bad. There was like a degraded layer over the top of those headlights, so I hit them with 400 first, then some 800, both on the orbital sander, and then I went 1200 or 1200 with some wet or dry paper. Wet, so I was using it wet. I find that's probably, yeah, the best way to do your headlights. If you go any finer than 1200, you're going to run the risk of delamination. Any coarser, and you'll probably still see the scratches. So I found the 1200 to be the sweet spot for the finishing off those headlights. But as you can see there, the next step, once I had the entire car prepped up, just a quick prep as you saw, just basically degloss it. The next step is give the whole car a really good clean down, so I gave it all a good degrease, just a normal liquid degreaser. let it soak in for a bit. And yeah, I thought it would be a good idea just to, you know, use my pressure cleaner. Why not? And then once the car's painted, it was all clean too, because I washed the wheels. I actually opened up the door jambs, and there was like cobwebs and just bits of dirt that, you know, over 10 years sort of accumulate. And yeah, because it's my mum's car, I just wanted to go a little bit further on some things to give it a nice clean up for her as well. But so yeah, next week I should be able to get a video of the painting procedure together for you guys. Yeah, as always, get out there and paint some shit. Gunman out.